Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to Young Martin's Reels. We're going to revisit this reel. This is one that I did. I think it was back in April. I did this reel, and I got it all cleaned up, and I took it out and I put it in my boat, ready to go fishing for whenever I needed it. Well, I decided I needed it last week, and I grabbed it. I had been storing it in a covered boat container, one of the seats or steps on my boat, and I made the mistake. Sometimes you do stupid things. Well, this is one of those stupid things. I had stored it in my boat just like this, okay, with the handle tightened down. Now, you wouldn't think that would be a problem, but the compartment in my boat that was full of stuff that this was stored in on top of, this was tossed inside. It was sitting in there probably about like this, and I believe what happened, that was holding the rotor in place. There was a bunch of stuff inside there with it, and the lid for the cabinet would come down, and it forced this handle forward, and it snapped off the teeth inside. So this is going to be a video on that. This was a great reel. I had already fixed it. It was ready to go, and I have popped it apart, so I already know what's wrong with it. So we're going to go ahead. If you look, see how it was winding? Yeah, because the spool does not go up and down. And now it's jammed up, as a matter of fact. So we're not going to destroy more teeth and leave more remnants inside it because of that. So let's go ahead. We're going to take off the spool. This is just going to be a quick repair, folks. I've done a whole video on how to service this reel. And it would have been fine had I not done the, put the reel away improperly. If I had left it loose like that and put it inside there, this reel would probably be fine today. But I didn't do that. I opened up a can of dummy, and the reel suffered for it. So let's get this thing going. We're going to take off the screw that holds the bump cap on here. And that's got a hook on the end of it. It has to hook up underneath there to go in. And we'll take that out. There's no point in taking this cap off because it's not needed. We're going to take these four. All right, that's got those off. Let's go ahead and pop this side case off and out of here. There we go. All right, we're going to take off this bearing, which has been properly lubed. We're going to take off the shim washers that are on the gear, all of them. And we're going to put them right back the way we took them out. Hopefully they'll be okay. Yeah, see, this gear is completely jammed. It does not want to move at all. So now we're going to go ahead and remove the axle shaft. There we go. And this gear is still jammed up. There we go. Pop that loose. All right, let's get the crosswind block out. The crosswind block is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. So we're not replacing it. And we are still bound up on that gear. Let's go ahead and see if we can take this oscillation gear out. Nope, it's still bound up too. There we go. There. Okay, now if you look, I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see it well. Okay, sheared all the teeth right there. Now, did all those get sheared in that box? No. When I took it out, it went to spin it. I saw it was jamming up, and instead of stopping and pulling it apart to find out what was wrong with it, I went ahead and powered through it, which snapped all those teeth off. Okay. This oscillation gear, same kind of condition. Okay. Carnage. which brings us down to, well, got to get all those teeth out of there. See all those teeth that are down inside there? We've got to make sure to get all those out, because if you leave even one in there, it'll just snap all the rest of them back off again. Okay, next thing we're going to do, let's pull out this retainer screw. Remove this nut. Along with the keeper. Yeah, we'll just leave it in there for now. Okay. Now, we're going to take out, let's see, did that shim washer stay? Yeah, there's a shim washer. Don't lose that. Let's zoom back out a little bit. Okay, there is a shim washer that goes on top of here, and it was stuck to the rotor when I took the rotor off. So make sure that you account for that. So we're going to set it on top of the rotor so we don't lose it. And we're going to take out these 3 screws. Pull out the pinion gear. And the pinion gear is probably fine. I probably could have gotten by without changing it. But I didn't want to take a chance on having one of those teeth have gotten in there. So I went ahead and ordered a new pinion gear as well. So I'm going to go and clean out all these little bits and chips. There they are. Okay. We're going to clean all those little teeth out of there, get them cleaned up, and then we're going to come back and reassemble this with new parts. Well, I had something happen here that I've never had happen before. And I have attempted to do this intentionally before, which is to remove the shield out of one of these shielded bearings. They're not sealed bearings, they're shielded bearings. And I was unsuccessful at trying to get it out. Well, this one actually fell out on its own. So I'm going to oil it good. And I'm going to attempt to put the shield back in it. It can live without it. It doesn't have to have it in there. And I have no desire to go and purchase another bearing. So I'm going to spin it around there a little bit. And we're going to see if we can reinstall this shield back in it. There's that. And now this tiny little guy here is the spring that holds it all in. So we're going to see if we can get that to go back in and lock into place. And there it is. Okay, that's a first for me. I haven't reassembled one of these before. And it's nice and smooth. It feels good. So we're going to put it back in. All right. Okay. Out comes our magic bag of parts from mysticparts.com. And what did I order? I ordered a new oscillating gear to replace the one I just showed you that was munched. There we go. I ordered a new pinion gear just to be on the safe side. It was another, I think it was another $7 to replace the pinion gear. And I swear, I really don't think there's anything wrong with this one, but it was just safer to go ahead. There are some dents in it right up here, and maybe they would have caused problems. I don't know. I didn't want to take a chance. Okay. I also purchased a new main gear. And all of those were wonderful. And the other thing that I purchased was a screw. If you look at the remember on the case housing, they had this screw. Well, it was starting to distort. In the end, the screwdriver was still fitting it, but I didn't want to get it to the point where it was so distorted it wouldn't go in anymore or come out. So I went ahead. It was $1.30 to go ahead and replace it. So I did. I went ahead and ordered a new one. All right. There we go. Let's see if we can get this thing back together. Okay, we're going to start off with the pinion gear. And we've had all this apart, re-lubed it, put it all back together. But there is our inner bearing. Slides all the way in. We're going to go ahead, since we're not greasing this, we're oiling it. Let's go ahead and oil it one more time. Okay. Next is going to be the sleeve for the anti-reverse, as here. And I have taken to greasing these anti-reverse, even though there are people out there who believe you shouldn't. I think it will help protect it from corrosion, so I do it anyway. So far, I haven't had one bind up on me or slip. Okay, there we go. That's on. Next is going to go this bearing in its retainer. And there we go. And let's go ahead. It is a shielded bearing. Let's go ahead and add some oil to that. Slip that back on. And before we stuff all this back in here, there's this little Teflon or nylon bushing that goes back in here. I've got it stuck on the end of this cotton swab. We're going to stick that in there like so, hold it in place and pull the cotton swab out. That's got that installed. Okay, now we're ready to, hang on, we got one more thing to look at. Okay, on the end of the pinion gear, there is another one of those. Let's take some of the fuzz off the cotton swab, and let's push that one out from the old pinion gear if we can. I took too much fuzz off the cotton swab. Let's try it again with a little bit beefier one. There we go. And push that up and out like so. Okay. And now we're ready to slide that into the end of the pinion gear. Now your pinion gear is built up and ready to go back in. So let's set it inside like so. Line it up and get it to drop in just like that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to line up this bearing retainer, get the holes to line up on it, and we're going to reinstall that. If anybody thinks that this looks very familiar to that battle that we just did, hey, guess what? It is. Even the gears are the same gears. Okay, now let's not forget that shim washer that we wanted installed on the top. Because let me tell you, if you don't have this in here, what's going to happen is when you install the rotor on here, the bottom of the rotor is going to hit on these 3 screws. Ask me how I know. Ask me. Go ahead. All right, let's go ahead. Slide this on. There we go. And we are going to install this nut back on. Tighten it down. Just snug. It doesn't have to be super tight. Okay, once you've done that, you need to put your retainer back on like so. Okay, and we're ready to put a screw in it. And I think we want to turn that a little bit. There we go. Oh, it's much better. Okay. I'm going to put a dab of grease on the end of the screwdriver to help hold the screw to it. And then we're going to put that screw in. Okay. So far, looks really good. Next part to be installed is going to be that bearing, the one that had the sleeve that fell off, the seal or shield that fell off of it. Let's go ahead and put it back in now. There we go. Next to go in is going to be this oscillation gear. We're We're going to go ahead and grease it. It goes on that post right there and rotate it around so that this post back here is all the way to the aft. To make Chris happy, we're going to go ahead now and grease this pinion gear, although he'd be much happier had I greased it before I put it in. There we go. Next, it's going to go this main gear, and we're going to have to grease it up, but one of the things we want to make sure to do is go ahead and put a little grease on this backside and get these shim washers reinstalled back on it. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little coating of grease on the back of this thing. The reason being, let's take a second. Look at this one. Okay, look at the damage that was done to it from water intrusion. Okay, that water got in there. Had that had grease on it, it probably wouldn't have done so much damage. Okay, so and if you look, that might have weakened these teeth to begin with. See, these teeth are a little eat up too. So maybe, just maybe, it wouldn't have done what it did had it had the grease on the backside and adequately covered everything. Okay, we're going to put these shim washers on now. Push them all the way down into the grease so that they'll stay in place. Now we're going to flip this over and we're going to grease all of the teeth. All right, and we're going to go ahead and install this main gear in, like so. And we do not want to rotate this at this time. If we do, it's going to rotate that block and it's going to move our crosswind block. Okay, so now we're going to slip the crosswind block in. It's been greased already. It's got plenty of grease still on it. Okay, get that in place. It's got to sit over top of that post. Let's make sure we get it in there right. Okay. It's hanging up on me right over here at this corner. We've got to make sure to get this little foot over here underneath that arm over there. Okay, like so. And I'm having difficulty getting all this to line up for some reason. Wow. Okay, let's put the crosswind block. I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's go ahead and make sure that this is all going to rotate. Okay, let's go ahead and spin it around. All right, that's all doing what it's supposed to do. I want to make sure, these are all new gears, and I want to make sure that they're meshing well. Okay, they are. Okay, we're going to stop that at that point. And let's go ahead and put the crosswind block in. This foot over here has to go up underneath this metal plate on this side. It's giving me a little bit of trouble getting it oriented correctly. There we go. There. That should be good. It doesn't seem to want to sit down on top of the new post. There it goes. There. All right. Now we're going to slide in the axle shaft. There we go. Line up the hole like so. And we're going to put in a crosswind block screw. Okay, if we've got that in there correctly, we should be able to rotate it at this point. like so. And you can see the gears turning. You can see the axle shaft go up and down. There we go. And you cannot rotate that backwards. It will not go. Okay, we're going to go ahead now and set the side plate on. There we go. Set the screws back in it. This is the new one I just bought. Yes, this is the new screw I just bought. We'll be using a different screwdriver for putting that one in. Okay, we're missing something here. Anybody else catch it? We're missing the bearing. Let's go ahead and put the bearing in. Slide it down on there. Let's go ahead and oil it one more time. And it should have plenty of oil left in it. This thing was just, the whole reel was just serviced not long ago. So it should be fine. But it doesn't hurt to go ahead and oil it while we're there. Okay. Like I said, this is just a quick repair. This is not a full service. The full service video is out there. All you got to do is go search for YoungMartin'sReels Penn Fierce 4000 and you'll find it. So I said, it was just done on this reel, and had I stored this reel properly, it would not have had the gears damaged, and it still would have been fishing beautifully. Okay, now we're gonna put this new screw in. Again, this screw cost me $1.30, so I just wanted to make sure I had a good screw in there that didn't have the head stripped out on it. Now we're gonna hook this back in, like so. Put this little screw back in. Let's go ahead and put the handle back on. Screw that into that brand new nice main gear. Tighten it down, and let's see how it feels. No, something's wrong. I'm getting right once, twice, right there. Second time around, something is catching. Once, twice, right there. Okay, let's make sure, well, let's see. Okay, it's when the axle shaft is at full extension, it's something that's catching. Okay. I've got to make sure it's not hitting on the crosswind block. All right, I've got a spare crosswind block that I replaced in another reel just as a precaution. And I'm wondering, I'm going to put it into this reel and see if it changes the performance. I would really hate to think, oh, wait a minute. There it is right there, folks. There was a tooth left on the crosswind block. There I was being so happy that the crosswind block was all clean or all lubricated and it still had a tooth stuck to it. Oh man, that was close. That was a close call. Let's see. I'm gonna put 2 screws in and I'm gonna try it. There we go. Okay, no hiccups, no binding. Yeah, I thought since I had cleaned the case out well enough and then replaced all the parts but one, that everything should be fine. And I'll be darned if I didn't forget to really inspect that last one to make sure there wasn't a tooth stuck to it. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was. It could have been catastrophic. I could have done damage to everything that I had already repaired. There we go. Okay, now, what do we do about this line lay? See how this line is still on there like that? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unspool that onto another reel. I got an old reel sitting around here somewhere, and I'll wind that line onto that reel until I get down to the good lay, and then I'll go ahead and wind it back onto this one. And I don't think I need to show all that. But, okay, I've got an old broken rod handle that I leave laying around here just for this type of thing. I'm going to attach this reel to it. And there's no sense in getting overly carried away with tightening or anything else. Just to hold it in place, give me a handle to hold on to while I run this line out to this other reel. Okay, I'm going to pull this down and I'm going to feed it through the eyes of the rod, the 2 eyes that are still on the rod. And all I'm going to do is tie a quick little knot on here just to hold the line and be able to spool it up. Nothing fancy. Doesn't have to hold a lot of tension or anything else. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and wind this up onto this reel. Okay, now you can see the line is back to where it's supposed to be. And I'm going to flip this around and go ahead and wind the line back on to this reel. Okay. And at least that's the plan. Okay. All right, that gives us this re-spooled, ready to go. And guess what? I'm going fishing tomorrow. Well, for you guys, this actually may have been yesterday now. By the time I actually get this edited and out. So, but there you have how I corrected my own foolish mistake. It's important how you store your equipment. I just kind of felt like it'd be safe in that box, but there is a lot of other stuff in that box, and apparently it was not safe. So there you have the Rick messed up. Oh, wait a minute. Got one thing left to put on. Got to put the cap on this side. That's the reel I messed up. We now have drag. We've got everything working. Everything's doing what it's supposed to do. And that's the Fierce 4000 revisited because of my own, let's call it what it is, stupidity. Just didn't store it correctly. From now on, if I'm going to put it in a storage box, I will be breaking down the handle, loosening it up, dropping it down. I had it in a plastic bag, but I didn't have the handle loosened up. So now you know what can happen if you don't properly store them. And now if that was closed down on it, yeah, I might bend the bail, but I certainly wouldn't strip the gears out because the handle's loose from it. All right, for now, that's Rick Stivers of Young Martin's Reels signing out.